You know how in some families, it seems like there's always that one kid, the one who gets all the blame, who can't seem to do anything right, whether it's their fault or not? We've all heard the label, the problem child. Well, today, we're going to dig into the psychology behind what's really going on there.
So, yeah, why does that happen? How does one person in a family end up carrying the weight for everyone else's issues? It's a dynamic that so many of us recognize, but honestly, very few people actually understand what's happening beneath the surface.
Okay, so let's start by just tearing down this whole idea of the problem child. Because what if I told you that that label, it's mostly a myth, a convenient story that actually helps a family hide from much deeper problems?
And this, right here, is the key. What the family calls the problem child, well, psychology has a much sharper, much more accurate term for it: the scapegoat child. And that name alone tells you so much about the role this person is forced into.
So, what is a scapegoat child exactly? It's basically a child who becomes the designated container for all the family's stress and dysfunction. Unconsciously, their whole job is to be a distraction, to pull focus away from where the real problems are.
Being put in that position isn't just unfair. It does some real, lasting psychological damage. These are the kinds of wounds you can't see.
This quote it gets right to the heart of it. Think about it. When the very people who are supposed to be your safe harbor are the ones causing the pain, your entire foundation for how the world works just crumbles. And when that happens, trusting anyone, including yourself, becomes incredibly difficult. This really boils down to two huge impacts. First, it just destroys your self-worth. If all you ever hear is that you're the problem, guess what? You start to believe it. It creates this deep-seated feeling of just not being good enough. And second, it shatters your ability to trust. You start to expect to be let down or blamed, which makes it almost impossible to build close, healthy relationships later on.
But here's the thing about us humans. We are incredibly resourceful. To deal with this kind of environment, these kids develop some really sophisticated ways to cope. And it's important to remember, these aren't character flaws. They're survival skills.
This is probably the most important thing to get. The behaviors that come out of this. That's not who the person is. These are skills they had to learn, and they got really good at them just to make it through a painful and totally confusing childhood.
And usually, we see two main paths emerge from this. On one side, you've got the people pleaser. This is the person who spends their life desperately trying to earn the love they never got. And on the other side, the rebel. They basically decide, you know what, if I'm going to get blamed no matter what I do, then forget it. I don't need your approval anyway. Two totally different reactions, but they both grow from the exact same seed.
And beyond those two big paths, some other really interesting skills develop. One is a super high level of self-awareness, because you've spent your whole life having to analyze your every move to try and avoid criticism. Another is a fierce, almost radical emotional independence, because you learned really early on that if you need comfort, you're going to have to find it in yourself.
Okay, so I know listening to all this can feel a little heavy, but the most important part of this whole story isn't about the wound, it's about the healing. So let's talk about how you can actually break these patterns. And here is the absolute crucial point, the good news. What is learned can be unlearned. This is not a life sentence. Because these are skills you developed for survival, not who you are deep down. You have the power to learn new, healthier ways of being in the world. So what does that path look like? Well, it tends to happen in three big stages. It all starts with awareness, just seeing the pattern for what it was. Step 2 is all about rebuilding, actively working to restore that sense of self-worth that was taken away. And finally, reconnecting. Learning how to build those trusting, healthy relationships that felt so impossible before. I just love this quote. It's such a perfect way to put it. Your past gives you context, right? It explains why you feel the things you feel, but it does not get to write the script for the rest of your life. You get to define who you are now. And this all leads us to our final and maybe the most surprising idea, that the very thing that caused all this pain can, in a strange twist, become a source of your greatest strengths.
I mean, just look at what can come out of this experience. An incredible resilience forged in fire, a profound sense of empathy because you know what pain feels like firsthand, and this uncanny, perceptive insight into people because you had to become an expert at reading situations just to stay safe.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought. What if that thing that you've always seen as your biggest wound once you understand it and work with it, could actually become the source of your most unique and powerful strengths. It's a perspective that can really change everything.